Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, talking American soccer, Logan. How are you today, Logan?
Oh, I'm having as good of a Monday as you can have, Jordan. It's not it's not a high bar set there, but
Sounds
yeah.
pretty good, though. The best Monday you can have?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, no, last Monday was.
Yeah, I was going to say. We were off Monday,
Right.
and we did a double dose of podcasting. So,
Yeah, Jordan, I feel like I
um,
see you every day now.
I know. And I'm kind of like, man, getting tired of this.
Oh yeah.
One thing I noticed today, I've been refreshed. I feel like I'm refreshed as we're entering the summer tournaments here. I feel like that's going to be a little bit of a pick me up, for our coverage here because we've talked about before how MLS seasons can be long, how the summers will sometimes, you know, not have much going on. So the fact that we will have too much going on, we'll have the Olympics, we have Copa, we have Euros, we have MLS, Leagues Cup. Like, there's a lot of stuff we're actually going to be covering on here. Not that we're covering the Euros, but just I'll be watching it. So, that kind of stuff going on is great. You know what else? I just realized too. I was on Time Hop earlier. This shirt, this jersey I have,
Mhm.
Leon. I wore this 6 years ago on this very day as well.
Oh,
I was going through Time Hop and I was like, oh, I was in Disneyland Paris and I just bought the shirt the day before
oh,
and I
that's right.
wore it.
Yeah.
So
You're an outfit repeater. Every
yes,
6
known
years, you're
outfit
wearing the
reporter.
same. Yeah.
I'm sure people have probably picked up on that on this podcast alone. If you watch the video, you're
Yes.
probably like, didn't he wear that Dunder Mifflin shirt
Yeah.
last week? I
Logan too,
do.
because
I do watch them.
I think because what I usually do is I usually put them in the dresser, right, and I grab whatever's on top, and it's usually the ones that I've been wearing last week, except it's in like reverse.
Yeah, because you just washed them, right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you wash your clothes. That's cool.
Oh
That's
yeah, I
yeah.
do. Do you not?
Are you supposed to? I don't know. Just got out here running around in the rain.
Man, we got a lot to talk about today, so maybe we should cut the
Too
BS.
much.
All
Yeah.
right, so we've got a lot to go over. Match days 17 and 18 are in the books, and so was another CONCACAF Champions Cup final that MLS did not win. Is this what we want to start with today? You want to dive right into this post-mortem of the Columbus
Yeah.
Crew's chances here? Okay.
Yep. Let's do it.
Yeah, I had to look it up and make sure how this worked because before there were two legs. And then I remember them saying there's only going to be one leg going forward at some point. Then I saw it was at Pachuca, so I was like, is this a one-legged final? Is this two legs? Has that started yet? It has started yet. We had a this was the final. There is no second leg, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, depending on if you want to see them score another 3 goals. Um, and it's kind of going MLS style, right? Where the team that had the best record in that competition for like the last 4 years or whatever, I don't know how they figured it out, something like that. Over the last few years, host the final. So I guess we have a few questions, Logan, that we can dive into here. What does Columbus need to do to be competing at this level? Or what does MLS have to do to be competing at this level? Only one team has won it. I do feel like we're getting a little closer and closer each time, though, where LA was in the final, Seattle's been in the final, Columbus is in the final. Like, we're getting to a lot of finals, which we had a few finals in the past before Seattle won. LAFC. We had a final with RSL back in the day. I know I'm blanking on it. Montreal got to a final in like 2015, shockingly, right? Like, so there's been opportunities for MLS to win this before. We've only won one, but I feel like we're getting closer and closer to getting more consistent in CCC. So what is it? Is it just that we actually have to play away on like Leagues Cup? Is it The money disparity? Is it the players? Like, what is it, Logan, that needs to happen for MLS to be consistently winning this, or like winning 2 out of 3, or 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to depth and the quality of players that you have as your depth pieces. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that MLS is, as they reach the final, first of all, they start in CCC, in these round of 16, they start it and they are, preseason form. So that eliminates a lot of the chances that some of the MLS teams have just because they've not gotten into full form yet. And you'll see a lot of the teams kind of bounce out, and some of them spectacularly, some of them competitively. Some of them, I know for instance, Orlando has held Tigres down pretty well, but just I think because of the depth and the beginning of the season lulls that you have, and you're just not firing on all cylinders. I think that's part of it, and then that just trickles down into the depth pieces as you get further and further into the tournament. As the tournament goes on, I mean, here we are in June, right? That um, a Columbus team's playing where Cucho has a knock, and they've got players that have food poisoning. They reported like 20 people on staff and team had food poisoning the night before. I love how transparent the media is with all that stuff, because they're straight up just like, oh yeah, they were on the toilet all night. It's like there's
Yeah,
no
they
language.
they said diarrhea.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
it was awful. And I guess got through the whole team. So whatever they ate, it obviously did not agree with them. But again, I think it all comes down to depth. It's the MLS's inability to spend money um, across the league. I will say there are teams, Jordan, that I think can compete with these bigger Mexican teams if they are healthy and they are firing on all cylinders. I take a team like LAFC when they were good. They had the talent, the depth, the roster depth to compete. I think that you look at Seattle as somebody that would have that kind of roster depth back when they were competing in it. And well, Miami this year. I mean, I think if Miami makes this tournament, then we're probably talking about Inter Miami as being the next CCC winner. But those teams don't get that far because they've got depth issues of their own, and they're balancing MLS, and they're balancing some of them Leagues Cup coming up, and some of them with U.S. Open Cup in the past. And so I think it's just a combination of all those things coming together. But I do think the talent disparity is because of the inability for the MLS teams to spend as much as the Mexican teams. Some of these Mexican teams are spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and MLS can't even come close to that.
I know I saw people saying that it can't be the money because Columbus actually, I guess, has um, more money spent on their squad than Pachuca. But what I'll say with that is, like you said before, with the depth, right? Like MLS can spend a bunch of money. We see it in Miami, right? We see it with other things. It's that bunch of money goes to like 3 players on a squad, right? So like you can say, oh, they spent whatever $1 million on this squad while Pachuca spent this, right? But because of the salary cap rules and stuff like that, then they're really only spending it on like the DPs and stuff that they can't load up a team, and they don't have as many roster spots as some other teams around the world as well. So that's, I think, one of the biggest issues. Now, I do want to say I'm not a big fan of the Champions Cup being a single leg final if it's not going to be at a neutral venue. I know we do that for MLS, but when it comes to this was a two-legged final at each place before, and now it's just, before they were doing one leg final because they want to try to match Europe, and now it's like, okay, but Europe doesn't play it in the same stadium, as the home team, unless if it was already scheduled that way and the team gets there. Now, I do know that that's probably tough because we're not at that level where we're probably selling out CCC. And also, probably, it might give the MLS a advantage again because they would probably start scheduling these finals in America all the time, the way that they do Leagues Cup and the way that they do Gold Cup and all this kind of stuff. So I can see the complaint there of, maybe we don't do neutral because they'd probably put it in like Southern California and Dallas all the time in case a Mexican team gets in. So that way the Mexican fans can go see a Mexican club or their club, depending on which one they follow. So I think that's a big issue with the one-legged final, but I understand why that is the case. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know how to really fix this issue. I think it's a combination of everything. I really do. The altitude at Pachuca is no joke. The players were sick. There was a like we talked about home field advantage for Pachuca. You talk about roster depth, and just playing on the road is very tough. Going to Mexico is very tough to play. There's a reason why I'm still not accustomed to when clubs win down there, because I remember when I started watching CCC in like 09, 10 time, 2010, 2009 area. They would usually play very well against the Liga MX clubs at home and then go to Mexico and end up getting destroyed 5-6-0, and then you're like, what is there? And I think there was a time Dallas beat a Mexican team in Mexico, and you're like, oh my god, this is insane, and like it sticks out that way. Now we're getting a little bit more competitive in those areas, but it is what it is. I feel like what will happen is we're probably going to win leagues cups more, and they're probably going to win CCC more, right? Just kind of the
Yeah.
way it goes.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. It's just the fact. And the other thing too is like, I mean, there's a history of Mexican teams beating MLS teams, and I know people are like, well, that shouldn't matter, but it does. Like it weighs on these players. These players know. This ownership knows. You know, the coaches know. Um, they're gonna play a top tier talent that they're not quite used to playing. And you know, what's to say that the Mexican teams don't really elevate their game as they do play MLS teams in this competition? I think there's a lot of that because you know I think some of these Mexican teams are still in the idea that the Mexican national team and Mexican internationals should be better top talent players than the United States. And I know some of these MLS teams aren't made of U.S. players, but some of them are. And I think there's that competition too, where the Mexican team has really struggled to beat the U.S. lately, and I'm sure there's a huge emphasis on some of these Mexican teams beating up on the U.S. teams. And like you said, though, like you bring it over the American home, our turf, totally different game. Like I think all of our clubs could compete with a Mexican club if they come over. So I think it's just a matter of, and when that happens, it's almost like when in college football, when some of these mid-level clubs that are playing, or teams that are playing in the 15 to 25 range, are playing the bigger boys, and they're playing it on the road. You don't expect those games to win, and you need a lot of luck and a lot of different things to happen for you to win on the road. And I think that's kind of the same thing that is magnifying with US and MLS going over to Mexico. US men's national team would struggle like crazy if we traveled to Mexico to play them, but all those games have been in the U.S. lately because of their issues. So
Nations League and all
yeah,
that. Yeah.
but tough
Um,
environments down there too. I think other people don't realize that is not only is it tough in the stadium, but around the stadium. I'm sure they don't leave resorts very often that they're staying in. It's just a different elements that kind of play in, factor in.
yeah. I gotta double check the claim about U.S. men national team losing in Mexico recently, because I feel like they would lose, because I feel like they just won there recently, didn't they?
I don't think they've
Oh,
played
they
there.
drew in the qualifier. Yeah, we play in qualifiers.
Oh, that's right. We had to go down there.
We went down there in a qualifier and drew 0-0. Drew 1-1 in 2017 qualifier, and we won 1-0 in a friendly there and drew 0-0 in a 2014 qualifier. It's been a while since we've lost in Mexico. It looks like 2011.
It is funny how they do get they get labeled like the better team in situations, but when you really do look at the numbers, I mean, especially with the recent success the U.S. has had, and I get it, like they've bounced them for more important, qualification, or they've played them in different competitions and have been successful. But man, the U.S. is they put a string of matches together ever since I've watched them and covered this league. Like we've really, I mean, the U.S. hardly ever loses to them.
Yeah, last time we lost them was 2019 in a friendly, and then the Gold Cup final in 2019 as competitive matches. But in Mexico itself, the last time was 2009 in a 2010 World Cup qualifier. Yeah, that's crazy. So I just needed to get ahead of that because I know the comments would have flooded in, Logan, of the
Yeah.
stats. I wanted to
Oh no, I get it. I was
get
just
ahead of that.
speaking off of what I felt. I was like, I just
The
because
perception, yeah.
yeah, the perception is that we can't win down there. But then I was like, I can't remember a game we've been down there because every game's been here. Um, and I know that some of the issues are because of because Mexico City's always on the top list for NFL and all them, but U.S. never travels down there to play. Um, but they're also in
And we,
Copa,
we won't this time either because
right?
there's no qualifier for us. So,
Right.
yeah.
But they're in Copa. Canada's in Copa, so we're going to get to see. I know this is now turned into the international game, but I mean, you're getting to see all these players. Some of these MLS players are getting to play in the Olympics this year. That'll help. Again, I think it'll just be a matter of time before the United States can compete with the Champions Cup because I think all these things are factoring in. Olympics, Copa. These guys are all. Some of these guys are playing MLS rosters that are playing with the U.S. men's national team this year. So.
All right. So let's go on to Reynoso. We talked about it last week. He was getting in some trouble. Guess what? MLS can probably close that investigation because he's gone. He is going to Club Tijuana, and that's that.
Good
I
riddance.
guess, yeah, that's it. He'll really Reyno show now. He's gone.
It gives Minnesota a DP spot, and they're one of the best teams in the league right now. So I think
Maybe
it'll
get
be
a player that
interesting,
actually wants to be there.
right? Because they've got good enough talent to compete. We've now figured that out, and I think they have in the past. I just don't think they've had a good coach. Now that Ramsey's in there, I think it really has taken a turn. I think they've got some really good young players, and now they just need imagine if they had a really good midfield piece now that shows up.
Okay. I don't think we have to talk too much about Reynoso.
No.
Let's jump to the news that just broke earlier today, which was the Gonzalo Pineda firing. Jimmy Mack, our friend from the Sporting Kansas City pod, No Other Pod, it was posting the letter to Atlanta United supporters that Atlanta sent. I'm guessing this is him maybe hinting at something he may want done on the Sporting Kansas City side. But it says, "Dear 17s, as a valued member of Atlanta United, I wanted to personally inform you of a change in leadership within the club as of this morning. We have parted ways with head coach Gonzalo Pineda in addition to assistant coaches Diego de la Torre and Eugenio Velazan. Assistant coach Rob Valentino will take over as interim head coach effective immediately. First and foremost, I am grateful for Gonzalo's hard work and positive attitude that he brought to the club each day. Alongside Diego and Eugenio, each of them was consistently ingrained into our community and was exemplary ambassadors for our club throughout their time in Atlanta. As a club, we set expectations to deliver a championship club to you this season and every season. To this point, those expectations have not been met. It is my responsibility to move our club in a positive direction to match these expectations. I feel the timing of this decision gives us the best opportunity to still achieve our goals this season. As the best fan base in MLS, the energy and passion you fill Mercedes-Benz Stadium with each week is deserving of a high-quality product on the field. I have full confidence that our group will emerge from this moment stronger and return to the field refocused for the rest of the 2024 season. The global search for the next head coach of the club begins immediately. Unite and conquer, Garth Lagerwey." Yeah. So, your thoughts on this move? I think we've been feeling it should have been coming, and it is now here.
Yeah, I feel like we've been we're 2 for 2 this year. It feels. I think we were
Yeah.
hot on the trail with Gary Smith. I think this is another one that has been a long time coming, and I think it sucks because injuries happen, and Atlanta United has been through their collection of injuries lately. I think up and down the list, I think every single one of them has been hurt. But again, I do think when the product was there, they just weren't performing, and I think that's ultimately what the decision is. Going Garth Lagerway. I'm assuming maybe Jimmy posted this because this is the way in which Peter Vermees should step aside, or at least Sporting Kansas City. That's just my
That I think so. I think he was alluding to like, hey, like this team that is above us in
yeah,
the standings is firing their manager and is saying, hey, you deserve better.
yeah,
And I think they're kind of hinting that because I saw a lot of replies to his tweet, pretty much saying like, this is what Sporting deserves and stuff like
yeah,
that. So, yeah, I think it's a little frustration there. But that's where I saw the letter, and then I was seeing who posted it, and I was like, oh my god, it was Sporting Kansas City. It was
yeah.
Jimmy Mack, not an Atlanta account at
No,
first, because I just my eyes drew to the letter before I saw who posted it. Um, Something that's interesting too is something I didn't realize, Logan. Pineda was Atlanta's longest tenured head coach.
really.
Yeah. Isn't that
Wow,
crazy?
that is crazy to think because of their years of success. I think that yeah, no, no way. I don't think many people would get that in trivia. We're doing Atlanta
Yeah.
United trivia. I don't think many people
Yeah.
would get that.
Tata Martino, then Frank DeBoer. Frank DeBoer felt like a long tenure,
Well, yeah,
but
well,
it
Tata
wasn't.
too, but
And Tata, yeah, well, Tata was a couple years, right? They won MLS
right,
Cup, and then I forget when he left,
right.
2019. Um, and then Heinze, of course, like he was gone real quick. He is not
He's
giving
got like
people
a weekend.
water. I mean, he was out.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they were 13th in the Eastern Conference at this point with 16 points. They had lost quite a few games in a row. They had beat Miami on the road and then come home and lose their fifth straight home game. So, really rough. It seemed like maybe he built himself some time with the Miami result, and then it was like, all right, you lose to Charlotte at home. Come on, we got to break
yeah.
this home losing streak, and he's out.
Star
Um,
Striker will leave in the summer. I'm assuming that
Maybe
Almada leaves.
Lageray was like, I woke up and heard the
That's
deal
true.
was done,
Yeah,
and that was
yeah,
news to me. Like,
yeah. But they always have to say that, right? They've got to say that. What do you mean? How dare you? Which is what I would do if I was going to fire a coach and then also sell two of the best players on the team. I would also pretend that there's not anything going on. Like Bogart is not something that just makes up things.
it's a good, yeah, no, it's a good time to maybe reset though. If you are going to lose Yakimakis and
Mm-hmm.
Almada, it's like, all right,
That's a
time
good
to
point.
rebuild, and these will be players that Lagerway will be bringing in, so
And he builds teams
could be
well.
good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I think the pieces were there. Again, I think injuries and then not playing in form, and I really don't think Gonzalo Pineda. I mean, he wasn't Garth's guy. He's kind of a fall guy. Like he's just kind of waiting for Garth, or
that's
sorry,
what I
for
wonder though. I mean, he knew him from Seattle, right?
I
Because he was
guess, but
Pineda was Smetzer's guy,
maybe
and
that's why you get a little more leash. I don't know.
yeah, maybe. And then he's like, you know what?
Yeah,
I can't do it.
yeah. I forgot about that connection completely, honestly. But again,
Longest tenured coach. That's insane to me. It feels like he just got there. How long has he been there?
well, he's been there since Heinz, right?
Yeah, but I mean, somebody took over as interim, right?
It's been 2.5 years.
Pineda came in.
No, I think it was
Oh,
Pineda
he's been
came
there since
in.
2021.
Yeah, it was 2.5 years. I was in that other room. It was right when I bought the house here.
You were in
So
the other room.
yeah, they were like, "What are you talking about?" But yeah,
August of 21
hmm
to June of 2024. Wow. Yeah, and they've not done anything since he's been there.
right.
Okay, here's his record as a coach. 38 wins, 31 draws, 41 losses. A plus 15 goal differential and a 34.55 win percentage. Not terrible, but not good enough. That's a shame. I remember him as a player. Okay. Um, let's move on to the next topic, which is something I just added as well to the list because this is something that came around 2 o'clock from Jeff Carlisle of ESPN. Chucky Lozano to join San Diego from PSV Eindhoven. This just needs to be signed. Apparently, I think Bogert posted the same thing. His salary is going to be in the 7 to 9 million range, which would rank within the top 5 most expensive players in the league. He hasn't signed it yet. It's expected to be completed with an announcement imminent, making him the first official DP of the expansion team. He's got 6 goals in 29 games across all competitions in PSV this season, and they won their Eredivisie title for the first time in 6 years.
Every time I watched the Mexican team, he was always the one that I was like, oh no. Really, I mean, the only one that was left that I always felt like, oh no, he could change a game.
It says he's not going to be part of Copa America. I wonder what happened there.
Well, he had been off the Mexican team for a while. I think it was more of, I think
He's
just
still
decisions.
young.
Yeah, but I think it was decisions of, and this is totally random. Jordan, I saw Marco Bielsa up on MLS's website. I was so confused, like what the hell? But I didn't know he coached Power. Is it Uruguay? One of those. But I don't know, it's
Yes.
random. But it was just because I was looking at like signings and transfers and stuff like that, and then I saw that, like I was shocked. But anyway, I think Chucky kind of fell out with the Mexican international team because they fans on Twitter, whenever it happened, I remember there was a visceral reaction where it was like, what the hell? Why?
Did
So,
you know how he got his nickname? I never knew this.
Chucky, because he's a redheaded killer? I don't know.
He is named after the doll from the Child's Play horror film series. He reportedly got the moniker during his youth career as he used to hide under teammates' beds and scare them.
I actually really like that. That's fun.
I was wondering, I was like, how do you
Yeah.
get Chucky out of Irving? But
It's a great first signing, especially with how many people they've been linked to. I mean, KDB that's who they think ends up getting Kevin De Bruyne when he comes over, whenever that is, which would be wild. Imagine those two. That's a pretty good start.
yeah, that'd be something. Uh, and then also we had some links to what Marco Royce going to LA Galaxy possibly. It's one of
Mm-hmm.
his options. I think we've talked about that in the past, but it's kind of maybe picking up a little bit more steam now. So, in fact, I think LA Galaxy already made the exchange for the um, discovery rights because Charlotte discovered this guy.
I mean, honestly, I'm excited to see this young player come over. After just discovering this guy. I mean, he's probably going to be a German international at some point.
I heard he was just in a thing called the Champions League. I'm not really familiar with that. They didn't win though.
Yeah. Oh, breaking news as well. Kylian Mbappe did not take his talents to South Beach. He took them to Real Madrid. So we missed out.
Question for you. So totally off track here, okay? I can understand him going to Madrid and stuff because it's still like he's still young. All right. But Pep Guardiola, all right? He's jumped around to each big club.
Mm-hmm.
That annoys me, right? And I always think at a certain point it'd be really great if he just went to some random team, right? Like I feel like that's the biggest test, right? So he could go MLS, but I was thinking like, wouldn't Wrexham be like a great spot for Guardiola?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You get the Hollywood treatment of the show, of the owners, and guess what? He already has all the money, so he can just take a pay cut. Like that's what I would do as a manager. Is like at a certain point when you won everything, it's like, all right, maybe I'm gonna just try to get like. It doesn't have to be Wrexham. I'm talking about like, let's go to a League One team and try to get them to the Premier League, or let's go to MLS and make a mark there. Let's go to
U.S. men's national team. after Greg
U.S. men's
came.
national team win a World Cup.
All right.
That's something he hasn't won. That's something he hasn't won yet. All right. That kind of stuff I think would be fun to do as a manager. He's already rich. He's already
Yeah.
won everything. Like, come on,
Oh,
have
he's
some
living the
fun.
easy life. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like he's always talked about going back to. I think they're from Catalina over there. I think is what it's called.
yeah.
Um,
Where Barca is.
yeah, and he's always talked about going over there and coaching again. But I was like, he's just going to go back and coach Barcelona. He's not got any interest in coaching. Like he's going to be done after. I think it's next year. That's next 26 is his last. So I don't know. We'll see. But people think he does have interest in coming to the United States. Like that's always been a thing in the city, like realm, and in good
Maybe he meant
writers
on
too.
vacation.
I maybe he did, but seriously, like he loves the U.S. players, and I mean I really like it'd be cool because he's always like all the good Manchester City writers that I follow. He's always said that he's had interest in coaching in MLS. So
I
hell,
wonder if
come
he
to
could
San
do
Diego.
I wonder if he could do national team.
I don't think so. I think it'd be too hands off for him.
Yeah,
Like I
he
think it'd
can't like
be
buy players. I feel like that's
yeah.
his thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think he would. I don't think he would enjoy it. It's the same thing when they say Klopp's going to coach during. I don't think so. Like, I really don't. I think Klopp's done forever. I think Klopp could go to TV. I think Pep could go to TV. Like, I think they're both entertaining enough and smart enough where that would be interesting. Hell, they might get married. Those two love each other, so I'm all for it. I mean, what babies they would be, huh?
All right, let's go to RSL. Chicho Arango scores from 62.7 yards out as they beat Austin. He got a hat trick and an assist. He's got 16 goals, 9 assists in 17 matches. That's 29 goal contributions in 16 games. That's the third fastest. We'll talk about the first fastest in a little bit. Yeah, you have here Golden Boot and MVP likely if he keeps it up. Golden Boot for sure. He's at 16 goals out of, I think next best is 13 and then 12. That seems for sure. MVP, maybe. I think there's some guy in Fort Lauderdale that's going to maybe be like, I'll take that from you.
He's got an advantage, though, Jordan. I mean, we're going to get into it next. It's a nice transition. So let's talk Miami, I guess. I mean, Chicho's going to be the what do you call that? The benefactor of Messi being gone for
Copa America.
Yeah, because Chicho, I think, is staying here. Question mark. I don't know.
That's I'm not confident to say that actually.
Yeah, now that I said that,
I'm looking it up.
Because what is he? Is he Colombian?
A Colombian.
So then he probably is playing.
I don't know. He's only made 2 appearances.
Oh, then I guess he's not playing. That's interesting to me.
Debut in 2021. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna make the what? Can I look up the
Colombian Copa 2024 roster?
He's not in my book. All right.
Well, then that's
I don't think he's in my book. I'm gonna look. Plug. This is not an ad. This is not an ad, but this is my. I got the blur background on Copa America Panini stickers, as I am. Because sometimes they'll put players in here even if they, like if they think they have a shot. No, because they got Luis Diaz.
Yeah, he's not playing. Like he's not listed on their roster.
Sinisterra. Yeah. So he'll stay. You're right.
Yeah, so I mean he's gonna get, and the way that he's been scoring, like he's been scoring in bunches. Like it's been 2 or 3 goals each time that he gets on the score sheet. Because we talk about Messi and how good Suarez and Messi have been. This dude's been just as good.
Yeah, well, he's kind of I would say taken off more lately. Didn't he? This is like his second hat trick recently, right? Like I feel like
he's had a couple at least.
Because before he was like right behind them and now he's ahead of them. So I do think like we were talking up, like it took Arango a little bit to get going, I think. I'm trying to pull it up on FB Ref now.
Because I think Andre Gomez has been the one that's been that had carried the load to start. But I think you're right. I think he's got at least two, and then I know he's got a couple games with braces. So,
Yeah, let me see if I can find this.
but he's got RSL at the top spot in the West. So that's why I was kind of like MVP if Messi's going to miss some games. And you know how international breaks work. I mean, he's going to come back from that Copa tournament when Argentina's probably going to go pretty far in Copa, and they're going to take at least a couple of weeks off before they even get started again with Miami. Like, it's going to be
Yeah,
really
yeah.
interesting how this, and we can talk about this, how much this will hurt Miami. But I mean, the RSL side and Chicho's they're looking real good for that supporter shield right now.
Yeah, they the MLS website is a mess to try to find stats. Like, really? Okay. Let's look up Arango. Okay, FB Ref is now loading for me. His last 5 matches, he had a hat trick. He had 2 goals on May 18th. Do I really have to do full season here? Match logs. Okay. Match logs for the season for Chicho Arango. He had a hat trick on March 30th. Okay, yeah, so by March 30th, he had only had 2 goals. That's the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the first 5 weeks. Then he scores a hat trick against St. Louis, scores another one against Minnesota, scores 2 against the Fire, 1 against Sporting, 2 against LA, 2 against Rapids, and then this hat trick here.
So he's collecting more and more as he goes.
Yeah, but there's a few games here where he gets 0, right? Like, he didn't score against Seattle, didn't score against Dallas, didn't score against Seattle before that, didn't score against Philly, didn't score against Crew, didn't score against Vancouver, Rapids, or Inter Miami. So he's kind of like a like you said, when he scores, he kind of scores in bunches. There's only 4 games that he scored 1 goal. If he scored in any other game, it's 2 or 3 that he's scoring. So he is scoring quite a lot. I think one thing that might hold him back from Golden Boot is if it does end in a tie and is assists. He's got 4.
Yeah. Which is likely because you've got Messi and Suarez that'll be
giving it to each other.
Yeah,
they'll be like assisting each
yeah,
other
right.
the whole
Yeah,
time.
it's not. Yeah, so they'll both end up with what is 23 goals or something like that with 12 assists each.
Yes,
that's lovely.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I think Arango would be. He won Golden Boot for LA a few years ago, right? How many goals was that in a season?
21.
That's what I'm trying to easily look at this here. None of these sites make it easy. Okay. In 20... It must have been the year that they finished second and won MLS Cup. He had... Is that right? 16 goals?
Yeah, I don't think he's ever won Golden Boot.
No, he didn't win Golden Boot then. Who would have won that then? So he's already matched his highest MLS goal total.
Yeah. Denny Bwanga won it last year, 20. Hani the year before with 23. Ola Kamara and Valentin Castellanos with 19 in 2021. 2020 was Diego Rossi. 2019, Carlos Vela, 34. That's probably what you're thinking of.
Yeah, probably just there's a lot of LAFC names in there. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. So wait, Castellanos won it with 19 goals?
Yeah, he and Ola Kamara. In a normal year, too, 2021.
Yeah, 2021's a normal year. We're already at 16 goals, not even halfway exactly into the league season. He's on pace for 32.
Oh, yeah, it is interesting to see the progression of goals score. I mean, besides the Carlos Vela outlier, I would say that most Golden Boots, and Joseph's year, most of them sit around 20 24,
Yeah.
23. So yeah, 22, 23, 24 are pretty good. So Sebastian
So knowing that,
Giovinco.
knowing that, he definitely has a better chance of getting Golden Boot than probably like a Messi. I mean, Messi's got 12 goals,
He's going to
but
miss a month
he's going to
at
miss a
least.
month, right? That's a thing.
And he'll miss some games at the end of the year. Because once they've got a, I mean, that's the other thing too that we haven't talked about because we're not there yet in this season. Which I mean, that's gonna piss more fans off too. But I mean, this is what you get when you get some of these older stars: is they're not going to be able to play all these games. They don't play them in Europe when they're old. But yeah, I think he's going to miss at least 2 or 3 as we go into the playoff stretch because I don't think they'll be fighting for much unless it's supporter shield, which that's a choice the team will make whether they go for that or
Right,
not.
right.
Be interesting.
Dang, yeah. Could you imagine if LAFC held on to Arango and Boanga? I mean,
I know.
that's a lot of goals.
And then add in Giroux.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
I mean, but I think we're going to get a lot of. It's going to get real interesting here soon. Like we've got some flat out goal scorers now, man. Like Marco Royce scores pretty well for. I think he plays more midfield wing position, but you're getting like Olivier Giroud, Jordan. Like I don't think people realize how good he is of a goal scorer. You do. You've seen
Yeah,
enough of
I
it.
do. Yeah.
I don't think people realize how good he is. Like the dude just he's you know who he reminds me of a little bit Wondolowski. He's just got this knack for scoring.
Yeah, and I would say underappreciated, like
Yep.
Wondolowski at times. Not look, don't clip this and make it sound like
Yeah.
we're relating these two. We're talking about style wise, all right?
Yes. The goal fox in the box, get some balls off the keeper's feet and
Yes.
smash him in. He's a poacher. That's what he is.
Yeah. And he one of my favorite players. I've probably said this before, but my dad's an Arsenal fan and I would watch Arsenal games and I love Giroud. And then I was like, man, if Chelsea could sign him, and then they did, and that was great, and he played well. But he always had haters at each club he was at. And I'm like, for what? Scoring goals? I don't
Yeah.
understand what. And then he went to AC Milan, and he's playing with Pulisic again. It was
I was
great.
gonna say all the players
I
like
just won
him.
the Champions League with them
Yeah.
in FIFA.
He hugged Christian as he was leaving. That was such a sad moment.
Yes. But yeah, Rongo was player of the match day with 3 goals and assists. Real quick before we jump in any more games, Ricky Puig contract extension. So that's through the 2027 season. He's 24 years old. Yeah, so he's signing a contract extension. Good for them. Good for him. Okay, the next thing we have here is Messi and Suarez staying hot, but Miami not. Okay, so we had a loss to midweek Atlanta 3-1. I had to look back at this. This is the first loss they actually had with Messi on the pitch this season. When you look at MLS league play, he missed the other 2 losses. They only have 3. He missed the other 2 losses. And he scored, and he even scored in this. And I think it was the first time he had lost a club game that he had scored in since 2021 or something.
Yikes.
There's that stat going around that day. Pretty wild stat. I think it was club game, because I think they may have lost a National League game with him on the pitch before. And then they drew at home against St. Louis, 3-3 on Saturday. So now he's going off to Copa America. So he's going to miss, like we said, at least a month. But he did break a record, Logan. He made history in MLS. I just talked about it with Arango. Arango, third fastest to 25 goal contributions. Messi, first. He is the fastest player with 25 goal contributions with 12 goals, 13 assists in 12 games. That tops the previous record of 16 games, which was Carlos Vela in 2019 when he won MVP. Other names on the list, Kobe Jones had 18. Diego Serna had 19. Robbie Keane had 20. Landon Donovan had 20. But yeah, so a pretty crazy stat here. 25 goal contributions in one season. Messi has that record with 12 games played. And now he takes a month off of those 12 games, comes back and probably is going to do another 25 goal contributions on the way to the Supporter Shield. But it just shows like how different of a level he's at. That the record was 16. He beats it by 4 games. It's crazy.
At the age of like what, 36, isn't he?
Yes.
That's insane.
So we had a first half goal and assist in that game on Saturday, which is what sealed the deal for him. Only 4 other players have recorded at least 12 goals and 12 assists in a single season since 2020. He's done it halfway through the season.
Only 3 leagues in the world, Jordan, have gotten to see Messi in his goatish era. And it was Liga 1. What's the other one called? La Liga. I was like, I'm blanking.
Liga 1, yes, and La
La
Liga,
Liga
and
and
MLS.
MLS.
That's actually the only 3 he's ever been in.
Did he not play with the younger team in Argentina?
No, he was in Messi's academy. He was in
in Pep's system the whole time.
Yep.
Really?
He was in Barcelona system. I mean, he did play in the at youth career. He did Newell's Old Boys and Grandoli, but that's a youth career. If you're talking about his GOAT era, which is what you said, then yeah, that's Barcelona, PSG, Inter Miami. Because he played Barcelona youth from 2000 to 2003. Then he was on Barcelona C from 03 to 04, Barcelona B in 04-05, and then since 04 has been on Barcelona until 2021 when he played 520 games, 474 goals. And then PSG, he played 58 matches. And Inter Miami is at 18 matches. There you have it. Okay, and so they had a little bit of a stumble there. We'll see how they do now without having Messi and some of the other players that might be gone on international duty. Benteke is hurt. He got hurt on Saturday as DC is continuing their fight for a playoff spot. They drew with Toronto 2-2 on Saturday. And did they play on the midweek? What was their... Where's my schedule at? I have it here. Wednesday. No.
They played your Union, didn't they? Or no, that
was Toronto that did. Yeah. DC. Yeah, lost to Montreal 4-2. That's right. That was the crazy game. I tweeted about it. I tweeted about it and I forgot about it.
That happens. That's what happens when you play 12 games in a week.
Benteke is second in the Golden Boot race now with 13 goals, as Chicho has 16, and we talked about Messi having 12.
As always happened, right? Benteke was always in Ballon d'Or discussions when he played over there with Messi.
NYCFC, winners of 5 straight. Alonso Martinez, second half hat trick. So I had that as actually my player of the match day was Alonso Martinez. I feel like he kind of got overlooked because it was a Friday night game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a last 10-minute hat trick. I just remember going from a 2-1 scoreline, and then I pull up to my house and it's 5-1, and I'm like, what happened? But yes, I guess he didn't have the assist that Arango has, but I had Arango as my second vote. So those were my players of the match day. But crazy. I mean, at some point it looked like Quakes were maybe going to pull out a result, and then it's just like, nope, 5-1. As
the Quakes do. Ship goals left and right. They're gonna give up 100 goals at some point.
They're about as stable as an earthquake, I'll tell you that much. Galaxy. Are you worried about the Galaxy at all, Logan? They have 10 points out of the last 24 possible. They lost to Chicago, of all teams, on the weekend. Sorry, Andrew. And, Vaney says that they are not going to rush Paint Sill's return because he's injured, so he is missing the next few weeks with the hamstring issue. But your thoughts on the Galaxy, who have maybe hit a little bit of a rough stretch lately?
Yeah, 10 out of the last 24. I mean, and again, we've talked about this though, right? They've got a really talented roster. They're always missing that next piece, that extra piece, and they don't defend. So you've got to score goals if you're LA. And when they're not scoring goals, this is what happens. They'll get beat by teams like this because they do. They ship goals left and right. Some would argue, hey, how about spending that money on a defender, not Marco Royce? They've been a really bad defensive team for quite some time. I think ever since we started covering them, they've really struggled defensively. And they've always been a good team. They've gotten out to good, fast starts when it comes to scoring goals. And they've always been a team that can score goals. So it's all about just fixing the defense. And maybe Greg Vanney doesn't, maybe he's not the guy that fixes that defense. But I mean, you look back at his Toronto teams and they defended pretty well. But I think they had a good, solid core defensively. They don't have that luxury with LA, it's hard to build a defense, Jordan, in this league as we've seen. And defense wins you championships. We'll beat that drum until it's dead. Jordan, I know you're a huge proponent of playing defense, and your Union for so long have been so good and successful because they've played defense. But in this league, man, in MLS, you will get absolutely annihilated if you do not play defense. And it will show. It will reflect in your seeding in the playoffs. This team, Jordan, is probably a 6 or 7 seed the way that I'm looking at them right now. They've got injuries to Paintsill. They don't ever really seem to be making that next big signing. Paintsill was a great find, a hidden gem, but he needs help. And I don't, Ricky Pooge is going to be that guy that gives it to him sometimes, but there's times where Ricky's just not a non-factor. But again, it doesn't matter. If your attack's going well and you can't stop goals from going in, then it doesn't matter what happens. You're going to lose in this league.
I do think you're maybe overselling the defensive issues. 25 goals, not great, right? But I mean, like, that's actually less than Miami's given up. So for me, and also like, Austin is in that 25 range as well, but they don't score as much. LA actually has the second most goals scored in that top 4 right now with RSL, LAFC, Minnesota, Galaxy. My concern for I think Royce can help them just because they'll have like more options that maybe more depth that can help them if that gets across the line. But I'm not as worried about their defense actually. I mean, I feel like they're actually, if we look at the form guide, while it's only been 10 points out of the last, what'd you say, 24 points available? Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 3 is 24, right? Yeah, okay. 10 point. Yeah, but before that loss to Chicago, they had 2 straight wins. So I was feeling a little better about LA Galaxy. Chicago, sometimes for me, that's that's MLS type of thing. All right, yeah, Chicago won against Galaxy, whatever. And some of those draws that they had was against RSL and Minnesota, really great teams. Charlotte, who's been overperforming. Austin was their last loss before the Chicago game, and Austin's been decent. So I think they've rebounded a bit. Their biggest issue for me when it came to giving up goals was that San Jose game where they almost blew that if they didn't have the goal advantage. Because they had a red card, San Jose did, and I feel like they would have really struggled there. But I don't know. I'm feeling a little better about Galaxy. It's just a little bit of a slide that they're going through that they need to somehow reverse. They're still 3 points up on Vancouver, and I'll tell you, I still think I feel better about LA Galaxy right now than Vancouver right now. Even though Vancouver's won 2 straight. But yeah, I don't know. That's my thought. Maybe I'm dumb.
I just look at it. They played 17 games. If they double the output, it'll be 50 goals. And there is no team in MLS that if they give up 50 goals, you're going to win MLS Cup. I mean, Cincinnati gave up 39 last year.
Well, that makes me want to go through and look at
all the MLS winners, right?
All the MLS winners.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. It's like they're going to give up at least 50.
But I don't know if you. I think that's tough to do. I think that's tough to extrapolate stuff
Yeah,
like that. Because
things
I
can
have a
happen.
hard,
Yeah.
yeah, I just feel like it never goes that way. Like I never feel like a team actually doubles their pace of the goals scored against or the goal scored itself. Um, why did I just go to LA Galaxy's FBref page? I guess I was looking at this. All right, but their upcoming schedule, they have Sporting, so that's good. That's a home win, hopefully, if you're them. They will have to face a tough NYCFC and then a tough RSL. And then Earthquakes. Then we have a El Trafico on July 4th. I can get behind that every July 4th, by the way. We want to do this every July 4th. Because they did last year, remember? Because they had scheduled the game that was supposed to be at the Rose Bowl had gotten canceled and moved to sorry, my computer's freezing.
I can hear you though.
Okay. So they had the game that was supposed to be at the Rose Bowl at the beginning of the season got moved to the weather, and it was on July 4th. So this will be the second July 4th in a row that El Trafico happened. So I can get behind that as a thing. And then wait, when did we get the Leagues Cup? July 20th this time. And then they'll have to face Minnesota right after that. But they got Dallas Rapids Timbers. Yeah, I don't know. I think NYCFC RSL are going to be their toughest ones in the next month. So that's a tough June that they're going to go through. But then they have Sporting and Earthquakes to balance that out. So hopefully if you're the Galaxy, that goes well for you. But then you have a short week before that El Trafico, because July 4th is a Thursday. So they kind of have a short week from that Saturday game to playing on July 4th. Okay. Let's take a look. LAFC up to second place now. Are they going to be favorites for the West once Giroud comes? They're only 3 points back of RSL with a game in hand. Amazingly, with how bad LAFC started off the season.
Yeah, no, I think you add Giroud and you add Denny Belonga, who's going to be, I think, back to pure form. And yeah, I mean, I think this LAFC team is always the one that you're looking at going, doesn't matter how they're playing. If they get in the playoffs, they're going to be a really tough team to beat. And they're doing it once again. I do feel like RSL has a tendency to kind of trail off. Minnesota's not going to be, I don't think, around LAFC as much. I mean, I could be wrong on that one, but I don't know. Minnesota has had a tendency to in the past. So you're going on two teams that really, really do have a tendency to fall off. Their history does not usually, it's not on their side. But we'll see. I mean, I think, they're in striking distance of that top spot. There's 16 games played. Minnesota's only 15 games played. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at the Western Conference right now, RSL, LAFC, and Minnesota are the best three teams in the league, in that side of the league. So we'll see. But I'm stating now that LAFC will win the West.
Wow. Okay, hold on. We got to add this to the
the crazy predictions, the bold predictions.
yes prediction here. What is today's
June
date?
3rd.
6-3. Logan says LAFC win the West. All right. All right. So I made a prediction on 4/22. Seattle, San Jose, and Dallas would not play a factor in the playoff hunt. That was a lie. Seattle's been bouncing around those playoff spots. Dallas and San Jose, though, I was dead on about right now. So take that. And just a month ago, Logan, you said if Messi and Suarez are healthy, they will win the Shield and the Cup, and that Orlando is not a playoff team. So far, that's looking pretty good.
Yeah. Thank goodness Orlando sucks, right?
Oh man. somehow Orlando was in a playoff spot. Now they're back out to like 11th
Yeah, this is just going to be
in
a
this
running
one
theme.
week.
Yeah, it's a running theme we've got going on this year. Inconsistency. If they miss the playoffs, Oscar's definitely gone. They'll axe him so fast. They're like, well, that didn't work.
I can see that. So do you think Cincinnati might now be favorites in the East as Miami loses Messi for the month? That's kind of similar to your LAFC claim, if so.
Jordan, write that down too.
Write
6-3.
this down. Okay,
Write this
six
down.
three.
Cincinnati
Logan
wins
says,
Eastern Conference. That'll contradict my Messi and Suarez prediction, though.
"Yeah, I know." So, well, you know what? No, you do this so you always win. You always win.
You got to hedge your bet, baby. You got to hedge it.
Got to play both sides.
Yeah, that's it.
So
If they're healthy, watch it. Watch
yeah,
one of them
that's
will
if
get
they're
hurt.
healthy.
One of them will get hurt. He'll have back spasms the last 3 games, and then I can claim, he wasn't healthy. That's why Cincinnati took it right at the last second.
And since he's like ahead for a full
Right.
month at that point or something. Oh man. I don't know. I'm not good at predictions. I've went out on my limb for mine earlier this year, and
Yours might be accurate though, since Seattle.
It was an easy one though.
Yeah, Jordan's like, there's no way the Revs will ever make the playoffs this year. Well, thanks, Jordan.
Hey, they're right. Well, I don't know. They're rising up.
That's true. They've won.
They got 10
recently.
points. 9 points back of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
If Nashville can get in a playoff spot, New England can get in a playoff.
That's true.
Okay, and we had, I think that's most of the major stories here. Okay, so if we're looking at one thing that we noticed from the East specifically, and I guess in the West as well right now, there's a lot of teams, 5 actually, that made the postseason last year that we might be a little worried about making the postseason this year. In the East, Philly, Nashville, Orlando, Atlanta, and New England have all kind of been in the very bad spots, right? Like Philly, Nashville, they're in the wild card spots. Those other teams I mentioned are in the not even in the wild card spots. Is there a team in the East that you're more concerned about with missing the postseason? Like one that you are like DEFCON 5, right? Or DEFCON 1, whatever way it goes. Is it Orlando because of your fandom of Orlando, or is it a team like New England who has started to turn it around a little bit but still very struggling?
Yeah, this is weird to say, but like New England's has 14 games played. I mean, they've got like 3 or 4 games to play that before they catch up to everyone else. So I mean, there's a chance there, right? Like obviously the panic meter's there. It's a 10 out of 10 for them, and I think that they could reach it. Like I do think that New England is in a lot of trouble. But like if I'm talking about like a team that I'd like really be panicking about and really concerned about just kind of where we go in the future, I think it would be Orlando. I mean, you're talking about a team that ultimately I think would. They're going to end up losing a lot of games still. I'm just not sure that they can score enough goals to really compete with the rest of the Eastern Conference. Their defense is just in shambles lately. Duncan McGuire's not healthy. Duncan leaves, I think, and they've just not figured out that answer. They were, I think they said that last year they were one of those teams that was highlighted by a lot of luck. And they've got the stats to kind of prove that maybe that was the right idea. That yes, they ran into a lot of luck, and there was a lot of factors that go into that. But I don't know. I think Orlando, if I'm going DEFCON on somebody, it'd probably be them, just because I've seen it in person. I've seen what that looks like. I've seen this team consistently struggle to score goals and defend. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Orlando on this one as far as teams I'm most worried about, because I think Atlanta, they'll sell off some pieces, but there could be a chance that they come in there and they got a lot of
Atlanta probably made the move at the right time, I think.
Yes, like a new bump.
Yeah, they're only 3 points back. I mean, it is I don't know. As a fan of Philly, I'm worried about them, but I mean, like they've been consistently in a playoff spot,
right?
Even with their struggles. I think I'd have to go with New England. They seem to be like, all right, we're still rolling with Porter. Yes, we've won like 2 games recently. What was their? I have it here somewhere. Oh, they won against Nashville, and then they won against Chicago last month. So not really recently. I guess you could say they've won 1 game.
Yeah.
Okay, and um, I don't know. I just it doesn't feel like vibes are right, and we're almost halfway through the season for them. Like you said, they got a few games in hand, so maybe they can still make that run. But I don't know. It doesn't feel right. Nothing feels right. And actually, 2 of their wins were away from home. By the way, they have 2 games coming up at home, so that may not bode well for them. They got a tough schedule coming up: Red Bulls, Vancouver, Cincy, Columbus, Atlanta. It's pretty tough, especially if Atlanta gets it under control with their new management. Then they'll have a little bit of an easier stretch when they go like Seattle, Orlando, Philly, Dallas, Montreal. But really, when you're New England and you're at the bottom of the thing, everything's a tough match because they're all above you.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, they're playing a good team. Yeah, any team's better, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of tough. Over in the West, we have St. Louis, Seattle, Dallas, SKC, San Jose. Who are you the most worried about there? Because for me, it's SKC. We've talked about it last week, so I don't want to harp on it too much, but they had made the correction last year after a slow start, and now they're right back to where they were, and that's kind of terrifying for me.
Yeah, this is the part of the season, and that's why I kind of put this on here. This is the part of the season where I think you can tell, like, this is it. Like, the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like by the end of June, if you're not anywhere near the playoff, you're likely not making it. And they've started. I mean, SKC's really fallen. They're down 9 points. They've almost played the same amount of games as everybody else. So I think you're right. I think SKC. If you're San Jose, I think you'd bank on the fact that you could get lucky here and there. But they're both bad. Like, they're both really bad. But I would say, if I'm more concerned about the teams that kind of made it last year, SKC had that hell of a turnaround and then almost ran all the way through to MLS Cup. This year, it almost looks like that was the outlier, that random run that they went on last season.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. All right, well, we'll start wrapping it up here. Let me just go through the standings for everybody's memory here. Miami, top of the East, then Cincy, NYCFC, Red Bulls. That's the top 4. 5 through 7 is Charlotte, Toronto, Columbus. 8 and 9 is Philly, Nashville. 10 through 15 is DC, Orlando, Montreal, Atlanta, Chicago, New England. Over in the West, top 4, RSL, LAFC, Minnesota, Galaxy. 5 and 7 is Vancouver, Austin, Houston. 8 and 9, Colorado, Portland. And then out of the playoff spots, you have Seattle, St. Louis, Dallas, San Jose, SKC. And coming up this week, we do not have many games to talk about. Saturday, June 8th, we have New England and Red Bulls at 7:30. We have SKC and Seattle at 8:30, Minnesota, Dallas at 8:30, and St. Louis, Portland at 8:30. We also have some U.S. men's national team friendly on June 8th as well. I believe that's when they're playing Colombia here at FedEx Field, and then they go down to Orlando and play Brazil. So maybe next week we'll kind of take a look more at the Olympic roster that's supposedly going around. We'll take a look at the USA friendlies and kind of maybe have a little bit national team focus with just those 5 games or something that we got to touch on with that. So that's probably what next week will look like, since probably not a lot of MLS news or talk going to be coming up then. All right, well, thank you all for watching and listening along. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify now. You can like and subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel. We appreciate everyone who has recently. as we continue to see growth there. And we, yeah, I guess that's it. Is that all the plugs with that stuff? Yes. Okay. Thank you all for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time when we talk the June 8th matches and some Copa America, Olympic, USA shenanigans.